guys, welcome back to We Should Talk, a pop culture interview series from In the Know. I'm your host, Gibson Johns, and before we get started, we've been off for the past 2 weeks, a couple bookings fell through, some stuff going on behind the scenes, but we are back with two people from the new summer house, Martha's Vineyard on Bravo. We have Jasmine and Silas, who are sort of like the central couple on this show. They're sort of like the Kyle and Amanda of this summer house. They're the connective tissue. They brought a lot of the people into this share house. And I've watched the premiere, and I know I like a lot of these shows. I know I usually stay to watch them, but this one is really great. It's incredibly promising, and I know a lot of people aren't loving this current season of the original Summer House, so give Martha's Vineyard a shot. It comes up on Sunday, May 7th at 9 p.m., right after the Real Housewives of Atlanta premiere, which is at 8 p.m. But I'd love to get some time with Jasmine and Silas. They sort of brought a lot of these people into the house, into the group, and so it only made the most sense to really talk to them first. And again, they really do kind of play that Kyle and Amanda role where there's a lot of input on their relationship this season from their friends, and they had just gotten married earlier in the summer before the filming started. So they were newly married, and that sort of new dynamic coming in to change the friend group up a little bit. But there's a lot of promise here, a lot of great personalities, and I'm really excited about this show. So give it a chance, watch it, support the show. It's on at 9 p.m. This Sunday, May 7th. And during this chat, we had a couple of technical difficulties, so I think we smoothed out most of the sound, and there might be some misalignment on the video, but it's a great chat. So keep listening for my interview with Silas and Jasmine from Summer House Martha's Vineyard. Tune in to the series premiere on Sunday, May 7th at 9 p.m. on Bravo. And please rate, review, and subscribe to We Should Talk on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. It's good to be back. All right, so we are here with Jasmine and Silas from Summer House Martha's Vineyard, Bravo's latest show. I've watched the premiere, you guys. It is fantastic. Jasmine and Silas, how are you? Thanks for being here.
We're great. We're excited that you're excited about it, because that means it's only a couple more days until the rest of the world's excited about it.
And we can't wait for the Bravo audience to be like that 13th member in the house with us, right? Going through the ups and downs, the parties, the drunk nights, the petty arguments, right?
We're literally like family in that house, and you're gonna feel like our cousins.
Yeah, and so we can't wait for the audience to go through all of it with us.
Mm-hmm. And so you guys are really, you're kind of like the central connective tissue of this share house. You're kind of the main couple. With a few exceptions, I think that are sort of friends of friends. You guys were sort of in charge of bringing people in. A lot of these are people that you guys knew and brought together. So what do you take into consideration when you're thinking about, okay, who's going to work for this house? That's, a share house for 2 weeks, but also it's a TV show. So what do you kind of think about when you were thinking about who to bring?
I got a name. So he's looking at me so for me, again, this is our third year doing this.
Yeah.
But what went into consideration is, can we get some matches so we can have more couples like us,
right,
or at least people that are fun to have fun with? Most of these people, our friends, were there at our wedding.
Yeah.
And so this was the first time us seeing them and having a vacation as a complete married couple. And I think just vibes, really good vibes, good conversations. You always need someone to encourage everyone to have shots. You always need someone that's, styling and profiling like Nick.
Right.
You need someone new. We always try to expose someone new to the island,
like a mirror,
because not everyone knows about it, and now they do.
Yeah, and it was just, and as you can see, the folks that are there this summer, they've been invited before, right? They were there the summer before. So there is a lot of, some old faces there, right? And then considering we're okay, every one of the old faces were yo, I'm game, let's do it, let's come back. And then just finding folks that we felt could complement everybody, right? Yeah. And so that's what it came down to. And everyone brought something to the table, right? Nick with the styling and profiling,
Alex with his intentional living and
yes,
yoga, which I missed out on every day because I was on it.
Yeah. And then Preston with just being the sort of resident counselor / peacemaker / party goer.
He and Jason both were making peace all over the house.
Absolutely.
Which was needed at some point.
Being
it was needed.
oh yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And then Bria just being the resident princess, right? Like, and you need one of that, right?
That's a good way to put it.
That's just everything just came together. Princess energy.
You know, and I mean, the first episode we're seeing that with the dog, and that's a whole point of drama already. So,
Yeah,
you know, you guys really don't waste any time kind of getting into it. And I think that it kind of speaks to what you guys are saying, which is like, I think these shows work best when there's actual history with a lot of the group, right? Like it's like you guys are clearly friends with most of these people, but I think throwing some newer faces in there also helps because it's kind of, okay, how am I going to get along with this person? So I think it's a really nice mix of that. Did you guys feel that in the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we started dating in the pandemic. We matched on Hinge.
Yeah.
Oh no way! I love that.
Shout out to Hinge.
Shout out to Hinge.
The first trip we took together was to Martha's Vineyard. But with this group specifically in this year, you know, every year is different. It really is what happens when you get married. My friends, getting to know his friends, even though they've probably been in the same party or situation or even the wedding before, but they're familiar with at least one of us.
Yeah.
And now you're seeing that kind of mix a little bit. And even last year was a little bit different. So yeah, but at the end of the day, I'm just trying to make matches.
Yeah.
And look, one thing that I like, and by the way, she is the resident matchmaker. Like, I'm like, listen, I'm your assistant. Let me know what you need.
You're the human Hinge. They don't need Hinge. They just need Jasmine.
That's it.
You don't need Hinge. You got us.
You got us. You know, we'll make it happen. And so I think getting to know people, like even though these are our friends, right? We knew them for years. I think being in the house, we had a chance to get to know them more deeply, right? You'll see that with like the theme parties, right? Each of the theme parties, you get to know something, you know, that we didn't know before about this.
Yeah.
I've known Preston now for nearly 6 years, right? And I learned more about him like throughout the house, you know? So that's the cool part is like, even the people we didn't know deeply, we got to know better, right? And the audience get to know them better too.
I think that's just the only thing that being on a show really did test those relationships and forced us to kind of meet the moment. We're all changing. All of our lives are, you know, we're in our late 20s to late 30s, meaning there's a lot of change in all of our lives. And being in the situation, a scenario of doing what we would normally do, but with cameras, it just sped that up.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And you know, obviously this is Summer House Martha's Vineyard, and we've been watching the Summer House in the Hamptons for 6 or 7 years at this point. And I think the biggest difference in sort of format is that you guys were there for two straight weeks basically on one long friend vacation, whereas like we track them for an entire summer, but sort of check in on the weekends as they go to the house. So it's a little bit different. So you guys are it's almost like Winter House, where it's like it's a little truncated, and like it probably, I'm guessing, intensifies the drama. Like you're not leaving each other. You're not getting the break in the city during the week. So is that what it felt like? Where it's like, okay, like we don't really have a break from one another.
Listen, Silas was one of the people that worked from home. I think he and Preston were like the only ones really working while on vacation. But to your point, no one's driving to New York to cool off.
Yeah.
Martha's Vineyard in of itself is a little difficult to get to. You're either coming on a plane or a ferry. Those are the only two ways in.
Yeah.
No other way. And that becomes a little difficult at times. So let's just stay. Yeah. And whatever we're going through, we're gonna have to work through it, because we're all gonna wake up the next morning and still see each other's face.
And that was I think a major part. And it's like
they're cooking breakfast.
They're cooking breakfast. Like, hey man, I know we were beefing yesterday, but you want some eggs? You know what I mean? So it's like eventually we got to figure this thing out. And I think that's the cool part about being there the entire time. Yeah. And you know, you just learn a lot about everybody and working throughout I was working for the entire time there. And that work-life balance that we all speak about is like, there's one thing that keep that is another thing with being around like your drunk friends and feeling some FOMO and like, you know,
that's not balance. That's a mixing of pleasure and of pleasure and work.
I know. It's really a setup, but we managed to have a really good time. And I think, you know, having people around us that was there for that same reason to have a good time, that really helped.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. And also, like you said, sort of like, you know, having breakfast with the person that you might have had an argument with the night before, it really does kind of force conflict resolution. Like, it's like, okay, we have to figure this out. Like we we can't escape each other. So let's figure out a way forward with one another. So I think that's, or is that not the case?
Well, I make that face because that's something I'm still learning. I'm a person that I see the glass half full. And so whenever there's conflict, and you'll see this, and I'm not gonna hide it, I'm still working on being direct about what's going on instead of being like, okay guys, so let's go to this place and event over here. Like, I do love hosting, but sometimes there's moments where you have to focus on what's happening in the moment. And you do get to see that this season, and that is clearly something that I am not the best at.
Yeah, listen, I'm so proud of her, right? Because I mean, there was a lot of like just new sides of her that I saw this summer, right? First of all, she is like the hostess with the, like, she gets things done, right? Like, and you'll see that throughout the process. But another part is like this bright energy, this bubbly person that I'm like so in love with. I get to see a side of her where it's like, you also like, she's not somebody to be fucked with, right? Like, it's like, she'll let you know, but in her own nice way, right? Sort of your, like, sort of that bless your heart energy, right? You know what I mean?
I'm from the Midwest by way of Atlanta, so I'm gonna keep it really cute at all times. That's just, I'm a class act. I'll be the first to say it.
Listen,
yeah.
I'm
so
not
you'll get to see you'll get to see some of that and just see her interact with other folks, and you know, it was a learning process for me too.
Yeah, totally.
Good though.
Did you guys?
He literally had a conversation with all of my friends.
That's good. That's good. There we go.
Yeah.
Did you? How much of the first Summer House, or the kind of the Hampton Summer House, did you guys watch before doing this show?
So we didn't initially know that it was going to be under the Summer House umbrella. We just knew it was going to be on the network. And so with that, we just did what we normally would do. But we did try to look at a little bit of everything that kind of seemed like what we were doing. And Summer House and Winter House kind of came to that.
Yeah.
So we were familiar with some episodes just to kind of see what we're getting into. And then when it was confirmed, it was like, okay, good. We were kind of tracking.
We were kind of, because they didn't tell us until after filming, right? And that, like, where
right, and that can happen. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Like, it helps being under this umbrella because these are like fun people. Like, we watched the show and we're like, I could definitely see myself partying with Kyle and like
100%. Bring on the crossover. Right? Come on, take the ferry.
Let's have a drink. Let's take some shots with, you know, Ciara and Maya, and these are fun folks, right? And so it's actually dope that we're under this umbrella.
I think so too. But one of the reasons why I asked that is because I think for so long on Summer House, we had kind of Kyle and Amanda in your situation, which is like, again, being that central couple that is the connective tissue. And because of that, any issues that they have had were kind of intensified or put under the spotlight more just because of kind of being in that position. So I'm wondering if you felt that during your trip, and sort of, did that make you guys nervous at all, sort of being, again, that primary couple this time?
Yeah.
You go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, going in, and you know, you wouldn't think anything would change because it's still Jasmine and Silas from the year before that hosted you guys, and we had none of these problems. But I think having that, like, married right next to you, I think just sort of changes that dynamic. It's the expectation, right? And it's like, I think part of it is fun that they're celebrating with us and they're there to see us through this journey. But another part of it is like the pressure of like feeling like you have to uphold this institution, right? And it's kind of like the I versus the we, right? I just want to have a good time and be with the woman I love. The we says like, oh, we have to exhibit what married couples do, right? And it's like, you know, that's a lot of pressure.
And I see a lot of my friends who are single and they do want love, whatever that looks like for them. And for me, especially, you know, understanding that I am one of the first of all my friends to get married. I feel like how our dynamic could influence or make or break them even wanting to still be married, especially considering how hard it is dating nowadays. So any little extra nick or crack in our unit, it did feel like the consequences in terms of their perception was so high.
And also like and I told Babe this throughout the process, I'm like, it feels a little bit weird being like the pseudo dad of the house when I'm one of the youngest men here, like that was the part that was like super weird, right? It was like,
Yeah.
like
We were like dad and mom.
we were like dad and mom, and I'm like, all of these guys, like they're like, they're older than me. I go to them for advice, and but it's like
Too
I'm
young
with
for
this
this
girl
shit, right?
now, and it's like now I have to watch. Yeah, I'm like, what is happening? I know I already lost all of my hair, so I couldn't lose anymore. But it's like, man, this is a lot. This is a lot. So listen, it there were fun times, but some pressure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And Jasmine, I feel like for you, one of the kind of central issues this season is just going to be sort of working through the tension of like, okay, who were you before you got married, with Jordan, going out, being in the city, and it's sort of how does being married change or not change that, and sort of working through some of that. It seems like we're already getting hints of that in this first episode, I think. And so I'm curious, like, I don't know,
Yeah.
like, are we going to see you fully work through that? Is that something that's sort of an ongoing process for you? Because that is a difficult thing to kind of balance, I think.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to make a lot of strides in the conversation, but there's so much nuance to the conversation of the whole Jordan, Silas, or just my husband and my friends that I go out with, that conversation. Look, if anyone who gets married can tell you, if you're the exact same person and you're operating the same way, people will look at you as disrespectful, because it's like, hello, this huge life event happened. But I can't say it's completely resolved. It's not. There's a lot of working through what me hanging out with my friends look like now. And same for him, especially with his schedule. So his friends don't really see him that much at all, just because he's such a hardworking person. But for me, I have a little bit more time to hang out with my girls. And sometimes the little time that he has, I want to spend with my man.
Yeah, and look, Jasmine and I had a conversation about this where it's like, I'm like, you know what, babe, it'd be perfectly reasonable, right? For like, you as my wife to say, hey, I want my husband home at a reasonable time, not to be hanging out all night with the guys, not to be, drinking and not letting me know and update me. And I'm like, you know what, that is true, right? And that comes with marriage. It's like, it kind of a mutual respect that comes with it. And so when my wife calls me and say, hey, babe, where you at? And if it's like 2:30, I might catch an Uber back, right? And it's like, it's not her like feeling like I'm, have to like do this and do that. It's just, mutual respect for this woman I love. And then having to consider somebody else. I think that's the biggest part, is like, oh man, like I make my own decisions, but like it impacts her. Right.
Yeah, and vice versa.
Yeah, and vice versa.
That's the logical thing, but
Yeah.
It's funny because you see it with Carl and Lindsay now. I think something that's happening this season that I've noticed is
100%.
this whole conversation about her being Lindsay just operating different, and she's like, I'm just willing to compromise.
Yeah.
Because that's what you do in your friendships and in marriage. It's give and take. So I don't see it should be treated any differently.
Yeah. But this is new for our friends too. So we give them grace, right?
Yeah.
They're looking at us and they're like,
Totally.
Oh my God, like, why is he telling you? And I'm like, we get it. It's new for you. It's new for us. So we got to give you grace to accept that it's new for you too, right? So it's all new for everybody here. Let's work it out,
Yeah. I think that connection to the Carl, Lindsay, Danielle situation is actually pretty applicable here. There's some nuances, but that actually is a really good comparison. And I think that it sort of gets into this thing again that we see on the other Summer House, which is like, already in this first episode in the trailer for this one, it's like we see Jordan who says, Jasmine's a different person since she got married. We see a conversation, Silas, that I think you have with some of the guys who they kind of are like, are you controlling of Jasmine? And I think it gets into this idea of like, when you're in these situations, how much do you let the input of others kind of penetrate the boundary of your relationship? Yeah. But then also like, oh, like, is this something that we should take a look at? You know what I mean? So like, how do you sort of balance that to sort of maintain true to yourself, but also maybe if these are valid things that they're bringing up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, according to a marriage certificate, this is my person, and I would stick with that.
Totally.
And the thing that
100%.
makes the decision makes it a little bit easier is, anyone who meets Silas, and you'll see throughout the show, his dedication level is up here to everyone around him, including me. And so the same energy that he gives me in terms of just trying to be a new husband, figuring out how to communicate his needs, same thing in the house. He's going to get that same respect to everybody else. Hey, this person, you're going through this situation. How can I be there for you? Hey, LB, what do you need from me? How can I be there for you? It's just who he is. But navigating and finding that balance of people's input, we're always going to take it into consideration. Right. But at the end of the day, there's only he and I at the deliberation board.
Right. And look, clearly these are folks that we care about, right?
Of course.
We care about them, and they're in our space. We're sharing this house together because these are people that we care about, we trust, and the new folks we welcome that. And I'm always willing to listen to advice, right? Like, I don't claim to know it all. Like, we haven't, like, June makes 1 year, right? Since we've been married.
Wild.
There's so much to learn, you know. I think if it's out of a place of love and it's constructive, like, I'll definitely listen, you know. But she's right. Like, at the end of the day, the decisions come down to this woman I love and myself, and so we'll hear you out. But you know, this is the chairman. This is the chairman of the board right here, right? This is the board right here.
My granny always said,
chairman and chairwoman of the board.
The woman's the neck. If the man's the head, the woman's the neck. So nothing happens without my say. And vice versa.
Vice versa.
It's just respect.
And listen, like, wouldn't you love to have your wife actually like be happy, right? Like, why would I? It's so nonsensical to me to like. Yeah. Obviously, I tap in with this woman, you know, with every decision, right, to make sure that, you know, because it impacts, you know, both of us. And you'll see during the show too that like we're struggling to maintain a routine. Right? Sure. Like, because it's like, wait a minute, we're not.
It's impossible to share a house. Vacation. Impossible. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that is. I think that's the biggest thing the audience will see is like, oh my God, like they are a work in progress. Which you're right. You're right.
The Lord's working on us.
Yeah. But before we end it, you know, I think something that, again, struck me just from this first episode is just like, I mean, you both kind of gave us glimpses into your backstories. I'm sure we'll learn more about each of you as the episodes go on, but you both have pretty remarkable backstories. Silas, your family coming to this country to avoid a civil war, and Jasmine, you were living out of your car 6 years ago, which is just like, I mean, and now you're on a reality show showing off this amazing life that you've built together and with your friends, and you know, you're vacationing in like this incredibly like affluent enclave of people in Martha's Vineyard. And it just, I think your stories are really incredible to consider where you are. And I'm just wondering if like, is this whole sort of kind of time around the premiere kind of like a pinch you moment a little bit, because it's like, okay, whoa, like almost how did we get here? Because it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's like, you know, I say this like, I think Jasmine really is my lucky charm, right? Because it's like, there's been so many things so many things have gone right. And like, you know, whether it's like training going well and it's like, you know, jobs going well, family's doing well, so many things are going right. And to have this just hit is just kind of like one of those, like, you know, it's one of those points on the board of like, things that have been going right in my life since meeting this woman. And, you know, the fact that we're able to share this moment with the people around us, like the group of friends that we have, is even better, right? So, yeah, there is a part that feels like, is this real, right? Am I here right now? Are we on an interview? Like, is this, you know?
Yeah.
But marrying her felt that way as well. Like, our wedding day felt that way. Like, I was looking across and, you know, I'm looking at it and I'm like, man.
I love it.
But, go ahead.
I mean, look, even the fact that we're talking to you right now, it's just so surreal. But I think, you know, it's hard to have challenges, as everyone does, and try to be the best you can be, and be service-minded and really just, I mean, the whole fact that we love being around our family.
Good village.
Yeah, it's going to have its ups and downs, but I'm just blessed that we don't even look like or have the residue, essentially, of what we've been through.
Yeah, and I think we're blessed because, you know, and you'll see even the folks on the show with us, and we'll get a chance to, you know, you'll see when we interact with our family members right down the line, you'll get to see what makes us who we are, right?
Yeah,
and
totally.
The village around us is just incredible.
Yeah, I can't I can't wait for more. I can't wait for more from you guys. So before
We're
we
excited
finish
too. We're excited.
what I mean, again, I've only seen this first episode. You've seen the first half of the episode. This is going to come out a couple of days before the premiere. What can people expect from this first season of the show? Because I mean, the trailer, I was so impressed by the trailer alone because there's a lot packed in there. This is a good first season.
Right?
This is a good first season.
Yeah.
What else can we expect from what you guys remember from last summer?
So for those who haven't seen the trailer, go watch it. Of course, we premiere May 7th, 9 p.m. right after Real Housewives of Atlanta. But just like Atlanta will pull at your heartstrings and you're on this roller coaster trying to hold on, but you're enjoying it.
Yeah.
That part.
Yeah. If it's
That's
like,
what you can expect that feeling over and over again.
and I think one of the our friends said this, that it feel like a combination of like the original Summer House and like Real Housewives of Atlanta. Like it's like the two kind of
A combo together. I'm not going to argue with ever. So.
Right.
We're their child.
Yeah.
Oh, I
excited.
love that.
We're definitely excited.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's gonna be tuning in for Atlanta and then Summer House. But the back-to-back is, I think they're calling it Show Up, Show Out Sundays. So
Hey, I love that.
Listen,
I
love that.
It feels accurate.
For sure.
Feels
yes.
accurate.
Well, Silas and Jasmine, this is so much fun to get some time with you. I'll see you at the premiere party next week, and I can't wait for everyone to fall in love with you guys on this show because you're off to a great start.
Thank you,
thank you so much.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. Bye, guys. Thanks for tuning in to We Should Talk. I hope you enjoyed the interview. You can find out more about In the Know at intheknow.com. You can follow me, Gibson Johns, at Gibsonoma on Twitter and Instagram. And you can listen to all of our interviews, past and future, by searching We Should Talk wherever you get your podcasts. Hope to see you next time.